Hi everyone! We are at Maastricht, House of Contemporary Art, which is in the center of Maastricht. We've been given a chance to have a look at their exhibition, Intimate Geographies, as well as a chance to talk with their youth extended.
So let's get inside and explore this exhibition.
So I'm Lotte, as I said before, and I'm a part of the extended youth group where we come together as young people and we try to incorporate our viewpoints into reflecting and looking at art. We also do a lot revolving around sensory communication, which is also a component of this exhibition, which you will see later on.
Yeah, my name is Job. I am the coach of Maastricht Extended. This is the second group that I coach. Well, Maastricht Extended is a group of youngsters, and they try to research art of more the senses. So they research the senses through artistic research. The youngsters are from different cultures as well, so it's a pretty diverse group, which is pretty fun and interesting. So yes, the senses is like a central theme. And next to that, youngsters try to engage other youngsters, peers in culture.
Okay, so we will start with a short activity where you're going to have 10 seconds to take the first two objects that you see wherever you are sitting down or participating. Okay, so now keep the objects safe with you. We're going to leave them for later on. I'm going to tell you a little bit of context about this room. So this curtains originated for the communal areas in the living room, dining room, and Stephanie's family's home. They are embroidered with a total of 37 of the most significant routes that she traversed in Lebanon from 1995 to 2001. And the number corresponds to the artist's age, while the time span corresponds to the period between the installation of the curtain to the year when she left the house. On a broader level, it also coincides with the aftermath of the Lebanese war in a period in which it became easier to travel to many regions that had previously been inaccessible to visitors. The lines of the embroidery depict truths made between her home and those of friends and family members, among many other places that were emblematic at the time. These stitch patterns and thick seams of strings represent both the places that became accessible after the end of the Lebanese Civil War and the path to reach them. The paths are retracted on the map of Lebanon in the way that she traversed them at the time. The trips also refer to the movement of memory itself when one travels back into the past. Travel by imagination. Now, take those two objects and look at them. These were the only two things you could take with yourself if your house was attacked, like Stephanie's was. That's all you can have. So now reflect on what survivors of war have to go through when they're kicked out of their house. The only thing they can keep with themselves is whatever they have within reach.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm 19 years old and I'm following a dance teacher education. At Maastricht Extended, I'm trying to combine dance with other types of art, mostly with the senses. And at the moment, I'm busy with a project, and the project is kind of with this room because this room, I chose it because it has a lot of different types of forms. Like, for example, here you see like a circle, and I see like different kind of square shapes, and in those shapes I see movement. And for example, with movement I also see in this room a normal person living. So when you're living and you're taking a book, everybody does it on their own way, and those are the little things, the little movements that we forget as a person that we're doing. So in my project I'm combining like different kind of shapes and the movements that we forget as a person, and I put that in a project.
So behind me there's 3 documentaries playing. One of those has a particular weird sound, which is like really rich in harmonics. And yeah, I was really interested because I heard it from downstairs, and I didn't really know what it was. So when I went upstairs the next week, I found out there were documentaries about the cultures, about Turkey, Cyprus, and about Armenia. So, for instance, this person is talking in his lost language. The message I received from it was that it's he's talking to himself because no one is listening, and he wants to make it clear to the world that there should be attention to the cultures that are being lost.
So this tapestry is from the artist's home, and if you put all the lines together, it will make the distance from her house door all the way to the bedroom. For Marriage Extended, we all have to create a project, so I decided to work with distance, seeing that immigration is a challenge that we see very often throughout our world. So what I would do is take an object and divide it into 9 pieces, seeing that I am 9,000 kilometers away from home. So my project is based on everyone taking an object and selecting how much they've moved away from home. It being just moving from one side of the city to the other, moving continents or countries. With this, you can compare different distances and see the different stories that people have to tell and how much we move around.
How do you think such a display of a home can be perceived differently by all these people?
Well, first of all, the members of Extended are from different places, so in their interpretation of different rooms, you see a lot of differences. For example, there is one sort of a house on poles. One person says, "Oh, that seems like a house, a mountain house from where I come from." Another person sees more of a church in it.
Here, for the first time I came here, like the guy told me what type of lens I got here. First thing I saw this thing. What comes to my mind? What comes to my mind first thing is one is look like a mountain, ice mountain, something like that. But secondly, the main thing is like it reminds me of like those days in Africa. There are rooms because they look like this. It's like this one, like a triangle. Just remind me like that, like I don't know. It's like a room, it's like a kitchen, I don't know, it's different.
Yeah, the theme of home, everybody can connect to it. So, it makes everyone think of their home situations or their objects that they connect with their home.
I stand here by the little things in the ground, and why I stand here is because the little things in life that makes me happy. And for me, it's my dog or my cats or my pets, or just things I found in the woods, like a rock or a flower or something, and I place it in my room. So, yeah.
So, of course, for you as a coach, working with these children and then connected to the exhibition as well and the projects you're working on, does that engage in a feeling of community, and how much weight does that carry?
Well, personally, I'm very mind blown by everybody's interpretations, and every member makes me see the exhibition in a different way, which is very cool. And in that sense, you get to know them in a very interesting way.
Yeah.
And the sense of community is, I think, really enacted by that. And you share thoughts and experiences in a different way than just having a conversation about, oh, where are you from, and
Exactly.
and that creates like a really
Something to talk about as well.
yeah
Yeah.
and also knowing each other in a
Mm-hmm.
in a different way than just
In a broader
knowing,
sense.
yeah, in a broader sense.
So last year for Mares Extended, there was an Invisible collection, which was a collection of audio recordings, and it was people explaining and like talking about art that they love.
Heb ik iets om te verkopen later? Er zit zo verschrikkelijk veel in dat werk.
It was made so people that are visually impaired could have like the same experience of viewing art as we do, and with it we can also like travel to other museums and other artworks without like leaving our houses while listening to the recordings of other people. And I think it's really beautiful because when I made my recording, it made me think about like art not as just something I looked at, because I talked about a sculpture. It was not just like I saw it in the museum, but it made me think about what it meant to me, and explaining it, I couldn't explain it as just what I saw, like, oh, there was a man and there was a letter. It was like I had to think about what it made me feel, so I could give this experience to anyone else that was listening that couldn't actually see the sculpture itself. The past couple of months, I've been in strict lockdown in Moscow. An experience that can be simply put out into 3 words. Perhaps exhausting, lonely, and comfortable. And I know that that sounds horrible, but when you're sitting somewhere where you have no one and know no one except a small amount of family, it can get that way. And one of my most treasured experiences here have been museums. Museums that I've went to in all over the country, everywhere I've traveled. There was one piece that really stood out to me because it kind of encompassed all that I've been feeling recently, and it was the perfect time I could see it. It was in a modern art museum in St. Petersburg, and the whole museum is very interesting. It's very witty and very creative. So every time you walk into a new hall, you never know what to expect. You can see paintings paired with colors unimaginable and sculptures that are made of sound. But all of this didn't impress me. Of course it did, but there was one thing that stood out that I thought about on the way back in the car. It was a hall, and it was just surrounded by simple paintings. But right in the middle, right as you walk in, you see a body on the ground. It's a dummy, it's a doll, of course, but it's a life size, dressed in bland, normal clothing. A, a doll, like a body. It's lying on the ground, so helpless, and on top of it is the letter L. Big, black, humongous, bigger than the body itself, twice as big. It's bulky, it's 3D, has really sharp edges, black, shiny, and looking at it just distresses you. You look back at the body in its grey sweater, grey pants, looking so helpless and destroyed by this huge weight that has been pressed upon its chest. All those emotions that I've been feeling, I felt in this, and this can be interpreted in many ways. Perhaps the big L means life, and how life always gets us down, and this big weight. For me, I thought of it as all the things that I had to do and all the work I was behind, but I could not do it because of the position I was in, of not being at home, of
loneliness of being uncomfortable, and I still think about it. And I think that everyone can place themselves in the body of that dummy, of that doll, in that clothing, lying helplessly face front on the ground. We all have something weighing us down and crushing us, but perhaps it only feels scary because in the museum I could just walk around it, and maybe sometimes we have to place ourselves out of that body and just walk around our troubles and see them from an outside point of view.
What we've seen, or what is pretty much persistent in daily life right now, is that art gets lost in the process of daily life, education, politics, economics. So how do you think Mares would like to bring art to the public and what they're doing here, and try to engage more people into what you're doing right here?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, Mares does not strictly show art. It's more culture in a broader
Right,
sense.
yeah.
And I think that speaks to people more. And next to that, you see with projects like the Invisible Collection, that it's really trying to get into the homes of people, and people can go to the website and listen to these stories. So in that sense, the stories also come to the people instead of people coming to the museum and to the stories.
Right.
So in that sense, Mares is trying to engage more with society, and they also have workshops like training the senses, so people can come and do exercises with smell or hearing, anything that has to do with the senses. And I think most of all the culture in the broader sense that speaks more to society as a whole instead of just art-loving people.
Exactly, yeah. And so you have two projects, or rather one exhibition and one project going on right now. So the one about the letters in the attic, and the one about the house.
Yeah, the letter exchange is with the asylum center in Heerlen. So a group of youngsters that live in the asylum center send the youngsters from Mares Extended visual letters.
Wat vind je het leukste?
Het tekenen en dan kijken wat zij erbij hebben gemaakt.
Wat is een beetje het thema? Waar hebben jullie het over? Wat laat je zien?
Vooral over bloemen en huizen en wat eigenlijk.
Bloemen en huizen. Die hebben een bepaalde betekenis voor jou. Wat doe je daarmee?
Nee, ik vind bloemen vooral mooi.
Ja, vrolijk.
En hoe denk je dat het voor hun is om ook die brief te ontvangen in zo'n situatie als nu?
Ja, ik denk wel speciaal, want je hebt nu zeg maar niet echt contact met mensen.
Ja.
En door zo'n brief heb je wel contact.
The people from the asylum center do not speak English or Dutch, so they have to find another way to communicate. And that's what the two groups try to do, is communicate through visual images.
Yeah.
They really try to make a story or use different images to communicate. Like everybody draws their own flower or their own hands, and you see, like people really do different things with this, and a conversation is really enacted by that. I think if you come to Mares and you see the exhibitions here, it's not just about, what do I see and what does it mean, but also what do I experience and how does this make me feel. And I think that's also a little bit the same with this letter exchange and the exhibition as well.
Right.
That it's a lot about this bodily knowledge that we gain from using our senses in a different way.